Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi, which is Nedarim Daf Lamed Vav. We are holding right on top of the Amud Masav Rav Simi bar Abba. We're right in the middle of a question. How do we define the service that Kohanim do on our behalf? Is it a shlichus of ours, meaning are they doing our service? They're like our emissaries, representing the owner of the carbon when they do the avoid in the Beis Hamikdash. Or perhaps are they considered strictly shluchim of Hashem? In the Gemara's words, shluchei d'shmaya. Or as the Gemara in Kedushin calls it, shluchei d'rachmana. They are serving Hashem. What is the difference between these two perspectives? The nafkamina would be by a mudar hana'ah. Suppose the Israel, the carbon owner, may not derive any benefit from the kohen. Can the kohen bring his carbon? Well, it depends. If he's serving the Israel, he can't. If he's serving strictly Hashem, then he could. Which way is it? Mosiv Rav Simi bar Abba. He says, I'm going to bring a raya that kohanim are merely shluchei d'shmaya. And therefore, even if there is a mudar hano, they can bring his carbon. Im hoya kohen, yizrek alav, dam chatasev, dam hashami. The Brisa says, if this fellow is a kohen, who is a mudar hano from the Israel, he can still sprinkle the dam of his chatos, bring his asham. Apparently, there's no issue of benefiting the Israel, because he's not doing a service directly for the Israel. He's serving Hashem. Answers the Gemara, perhaps there is no raya from here, because we are speaking about a unique chatas, a unique asham, rather than the conventional chatas brought about for kapara on a sin. We're speaking about, for instance, a mitzvah who needs to bring these karbanis as part of his cleansing process, so to speak. The mitzvah, until he brings these karbanos, is called a mechusar kapara. This sort of completes the formal process, the tahara process. And what is unique about these karbanos? Anybody can bring it on your behalf. They don't need to ask your permission. You don't even need to know about it. And therefore, certainly the kohen can bring these karbanos on the Mitzvah's behalf. Because even if typically the kohen is servicing the owner of the carbon, he's a shliach of the Baal carbon, but not when it comes to Mechusar Kapara. You don't need shlichus. You don't need to appoint the kohen to do it on your behalf. And therefore, it's not considered that the Israel is actually benefiting directly from the kohen, and it's mutter. And so the Gemara, Dam Chatosei Shel Mitzvah, V'Dam Hashamei Shel Mitzvah. And since we're speaking about karbonos and Mitzvah, his whole issue is non-existent. Dichsiv Zois Tia Torahs HaMitzvah, Bein Gadol Ubein Katan. We learned this yesterday. Zois Tia Torahs. That's an extra expression telling you that you can bring a carbon on behalf of even a Mitzvah Katan. And of course, a Mitzvah who's a minor can't have das. So then how could you bring his carbon? You don't need das. And therefore, in this case, by the mudar han'o, the kohen is not considered as though he's doing a shlichus of the owner and it's mutter. Even if the owner is not meant to have han'o from the kohen. He's not doing it for him. He's just bringing a carbon. Says the Gemara, we'll have another raya from a different Mishnah regarding our question of how to define the role of the kohen. Tanat hakoyanim shepiglu b'mikdash. If a kohen misconstrues the carbon of the Israel, he has, some thoughts and plans which are not really consistent with the halachos of the carbon, which makes the carbon pigul. He says, look, I'm going to bring this carbon in 3 days. I'm going to eat it in 3 days time, which is beyond the expiry date. Does the carbon become puzzle? Does it assume the status of pigul? The Kehanim made pigul in a carbon which was not theirs. Does it work? Can you ruin somebody else's carbon? That's the question. Well, it depends. Mizidin chayavin. If they did it on purpose, then it's pigul. And not only that, they have to pay for that loss. They have to compensate its owner because they made his carbon puzzle. Ha shagigin pturin. But if it was inadvertent, by mistake, then the kohen doesn't have to pay for the loss. And there's a brayse of a Tanya law, the brayse that explains Elish pigul on pigul. But you should know that even b'shoigeg, where we say that the kohen doesn't have to pay for the damaged animal, but the animal, the carbon, assumes the full pigul status, even though the kohen did it by mistake. Now let's analyze the Mishnah and figure out which way to go as per our discussion regarding the role of the kohen. This works well. If a kohen was sent by Hashem, appointed by Hashem only. Now we're dwelling on the shogeg, meaning, the Ran explains this. If a kohen does this b'mezid, of course, it ruins the carbon, even though it's not really the kohen's carbon to ruin. But he brings a Gemara in Chulin Adam Oisir Davar She'ena Shaloi Alidei Maaseh. Although one doesn't have the ability to affect Isser on somebody else's belongings, but if it's done through an act, through a Maaseh, such as a Shchita, a Zrika, which is a tangible Maaseh, then you could even affect Isser on somebody else's belongings. So if they intended on making this pigul, of course, the pigul is applied. The question is, when it was b'shoigeg, inadvertently, by mistake, unknowingly, why does that make the carbon pigul? So now, right? If we say, if they're serving Hashem, they're doing Hashem's job, so to speak, pigul. That explains why it's pigul, even if it was b'shoigeg. And the Ran explains, because Hashem made them His shluchim regarding every situation. Hashem appointed them to do this job, and however they do it, it's done. So even if they made it into pigul, it's pigul. Eli amras shlucha didan havu. But suppose a kohen is considered the shliach of the owner of the carbon. That poses a question. Am I pigul and pigul? Why? If the kohen did the pigul b'shogeg, is it considered pigul? Why is the pigul activated? You, Mr. Kohen, are doing my shlichus. What did I appoint you to do? What did I ask you to do? What was the order? Label, you can tell him. Shlicha shabisich. Look, I sent you to do my carbon properly. Litikuni. To do it correctly. Vusi. Not to ruin it for me. To help me, not for my detriment. I never sent you for that. I never enabled you. I never empowered you. I never authorized you to make my carbon pigul. So again, if they did it b'mezid, okay, it's too bad. It's done. But if he never really intended on doing the pigul, it was b'shoigeg. He wasn't deliberately trying to divert the process. He wasn't trying to disengage from my appointment. He wasn't trying to do his own program. He was trying to follow instructions. He was trying to do my shlichus. So if what he did was actually a fulfillment of the shlichus, okay, so it works. But if it turns out that what he really did was not a fulfillment of my shlichus, actually it was contrary to my shlichus. I asked him to do A, to make a carbon kosher. What did he do? B, he made it pigul. It shouldn't work. He was never authorized to do that. Amri, the answer is like this. Even if we are to say that in fact a kohen is serving its owner, the carbon's owner, we can still understand why there's pigul in this case. Because there's a pasuk. The pasuk continues, pigul yeh. And we learn from here that even in this instance, pigul is activated. So we have no right to our question of how to define the role of a kohen. Gufa, let's go back and learn the halacha of Rabbi Yechanan. Hakol tzrichen das. Regarding every carbon, you need to have the owner's consent. You can't just, offer somebody else a carbon without his knowledge. He has to be willing to accept your carbon. Chutz mechusar kapara, except by mechusar kapara like a metzora, you can pick up an animal and bring a carbon for somebody else. Who needs that carbon? Sharei adam mevi carbon al bana v'abnois of hagtanim, as we learned yesterday. We learned from the pasuk zois teres tia teres ha-metzora. A person can bring a carbon metzora even for his small kids who don't have das. Apparently, das, willingness, consent, is not a prerequisite when it comes to the carbon of a mechusar kapara. Asks the Gemara. Well, if you're making that type of equation, go a step further as well. What if your friend is liable to a chatas for eating chelav? Regular sin chatas, right? Can Reuven bring that carbon for Shimon without Shimon's knowledge and consent? Perhaps yes. Why? We'll draw an analogy. Shekin adam mevich isht al ishtay. Shaita, Rabbi Yehuda. We find that Rabbi Yehuda holds a man can bring a chatas chelav on behalf of his wife, who's deranged. So we'll draw a parallel. Apparently, you can bring a carbon for anybody, with or without their knowledge, and they're exempt. That's it. It counts. If so, Allah ma'am Rab Zera. Why did Rab Zera tell us otherwise? If one sets aside a carbon chatas for his friend, who needs the carbon? Lo yasa klum, it doesn't work. Why? Answers the Gemara, this is why. Although Rabbi Yehuda maintains that a husband can bring a carbon for his wife, that only applies to a carbon of like a mechusar kapara, like a yoledes, if she gave birth, but not your standard chatas. So we made that mistake. It wasn't referring to the standard chatas. And I'll prove it to you. What did we say? You could bring a carbon for your wife who's a shaita. Ishta is shaita hechidami. How do you have an isha who's a shaita that needs a carbon? Either achla she ate a chelav while she was deranged. There's no carbon at all. Lav bas carboni. She doesn't need a carbon. She's pata from mitzvahs. Evidently, that's not the case. Suppose she ate a chelav when she was okay, and then she became a shaita. There as well, no carbon is required. In a typical case of ochal chelav, first carbon. Person ate chelav. Then he became aware of that. He designates a carbon. Finished tata, and at that point he becomes mentally unstable, in which case he's exempt from mitzvahs. Even if v'chazav nishtafa, after which he's back to normal, he's mentally balanced again. It's too bad, too late. Possible, you can no longer bring that carbon, because once he was disqualified for bringing a carbon, that moment of disqualification disqualifies his carbon as well. If he's not right to bring a carbon, his animal becomes puzzle. So bottom line is, when you speak about a man bringing a carbon for his wife, apparently it's not a chatas chelav, if we describe her as a shoita. Because a shoita is pata from karbonis. What then? We're speaking about a chatas yeledes, mechusar kapara. Oh, okay, we've already made that distinction. And we learned from the pasuk that you can bring a mechusar kapara carbon for anybody without their knowledge. That's true, but not a chatas chelav. Not a regular obligatory carbon like a chatas or asha. Asks the Gemara, what about a carbon pesach? Can Reuven choose to bring a carbon for Shimon? If that's the case, that we're going to compare the standard case to the specific case and draw from there. Yavi Adam Pesach al Chaver. Why can't Reuven bring a carbon Pesach for Shimon? Shekin Adam Mevi al Banav al Bnei Vaktan. As we see, any father brings a carbon Pesach for his entire family, including the minors who don't have a das, don't have the koyach to empower him to bring it on their behalf. And if that's the case, Allah Amar Beleza, why then did Rabbi Beleza tell us otherwise? First Pesach al Chaveroi lo yasav leklum. If Reuven decides to designate a carbon for Shimon, his carbon Pesach is worthless. Why not? Why can't we learn from a father and his children? Amar Zera, we're making a mistake. Although a father can include his kids in the carbon Pesach, but that's only because technically, Minat Torah, they don't really have to have a chelik. They don't really have to be counted into the Korban Pesach. They can eat without being a monoi. That's Lashon Nigmar Pesach Menuyav, being counted in, being part of the Hakrava process. They don't need to be part of the process, and therefore there's no issue of bringing it on their behalf. But typically when it's a Gadol, who needs to be appointed, he needs to have a reservation in the Korban. The Korban needs to be brought for him personally. You have no right to bring it on your friend's behalf without his consent. Omer Abzeder, Celebes Avais, this concept that you take one Korban for the entire family, including even the little kids. Lav Deiraisa, that's not a concept which is rooted in the Torah, meaning that Minat Torah, the children don't really have to have a reservation, don't really have to have a chelik in the Hakrava process. They can join even without that. That explains how they can have a Korban, even though they don't have das. But since they don't need a personal Hakrava, so it's okay, they can join later after the Korban is brought. Umimai, how do we know that in fact little kids don't need to take part in the Hakrava process? Midasnan, we have a Mishnah, which proves us this point. A fellow announces to his kids, to his family, look, I'm going up to Yerushalayim, after which I'll be shechting a Korban Pesach, and you know who I'm going to have in mind? The first one of you which gets to Yerushalayim, the Korban is his. What happens? As soon as the first kid runs in, his head and most of his body, he acquires his portion in the Korban Pesach, and he, his other brothers, his family, get their portion through him. It's sort of like he's taking for them as well. Now this is sounds a little problematic, because the Amris Celebes Aves Deiraisa, if we are to learn literally that every kid in the family, even the Ketanim, have to have a chelik, have to have acquired a portion of the Korban and the Akrava, Minat Torah, it's too late for that. Al Bistrakoi, look, we're standing with the meat, meaning it's after the Shechita, too late to join the group. Once the Shechita takes place, you can't join the group. You can't become monoi on the Korban after the Shechita. Umazaki Lahu, and now now he's going to give the first one in, the first one that the marathon winner. He's going to give him a chelik in the Korban, and he's going to give it to his brothers. It's too late for that. So the answer is that apparently Ketanim don't need to be there before the Shechita. As long as they come by and they have their achila, it's okay. So if that's the case, why is the father telling them to come run and be zoicha if it's not really going to happen? He's just trying to inspire them, motivate them. Let's get going. Come on, bezrizis. But in reality, whenever they come, even if they come after the Shechita, he can share his Korban with them. They don't need to be there during the Shechita. Tani Namihachi. In fact, we find this in a Brisa, that it was just used as a motivational tool. Masahaya, there was in fact a story. After the father presented this challenge to his family, guess who came first? The girls. Vikid Mubanis Labanim. The girls came before the boys. Vinim Tzubanis Zrizais. Mubanim Shvelim. And it turns out that the girls were the Zrizim, and the kids, the boys, were behind. They were just the slow ones. It doesn't say that they were zoich and the boys weren't. Apparently, we're not speaking about a technical zechia. The point was just to motivate them, because in fact, whenever they come, it's okay. They don't need to be there before the shechita. They're not really having a chelik in the actual Korban celebes of Islam rice. So knowing that, we understand why a father can have his kids join, even the Ketanim. But typically, if we're speaking about Gdolim, you have to authorize the Bala Korban to incorporate you into his Korban. You need das. You can't just include people without their knowledge. Okay, so bottom line is we had a shaila regarding the, how to define the role of Kohanim. We didn't really conclude on that. We learned that when it comes to the karbonos of mechusa kapar, you don't need das balim, as opposed to regular karbonos as well as carbon pesach. Here comes another shaila. Hatoyrem mishaloi al shachaveri. So your neighbor is a farmer and he has a whole pile of hay, of wheat, from which truma has to be separated. I decide to be a nice fellow. I take my own produce and I do truma on his behalf. And does that work? Tzorach da'atoy. Do I need the consent, the askama, the das, the knowledge, the awareness of the owner of the tevel? Or can I just do it on his behalf? Shall we say, given the schusaloi, perhaps I don't need his permission. I'm benefiting him. No das is necessary, the Ran says, on the third line from the top. You can benefit somebody even without his knowledge. The assumption is, he wants you to do it. You're like his shliach. You're serving the role of shliach even without him knowing. That's one side of the coin. So it works. Or perhaps we can say, not so fast. Mitzvah dilehi. Fact is, it's my neighbor's mitzvah. Perhaps he wants to do the truma, make a bracha and do the truma, and he prefers to do it, rather than allow me to do it. Toshma, let's bring a raya from our Mishnah. So we're speaking about a mudar hana once again. The farmer may not benefit from this other fellow, and this other fellow, let's call him Reuven. Reuven will do the truma and the maser on behalf of his friend Shimon, who's a mudar hana from Reuven, can't take hana from Reuven, and he's doing it ladata with his consent. He can do this. That's the Mishnah we learned. What exactly are the circumstances of this halacha? What are we speaking about? We know who's doing the truma, Reuven, but whose material is he using? Whose das do we have? What's going on? Ilema. Mishal balakri, al shal balakri. So Reuven is going over to Shimon's kri, his pile there, and he's taking off some material on the farmer's behalf. Uladata deman, and whose das does he have? Ilem uladata delay, his own das, Reuven's das. What kind of business does he have interfering with Shimon's farm? Man shavi shliach, who asked him to do it? How can he do that? El uladata de balakri. Apparently, when we say ladata, you mean with the knowledge, awareness, and consent of the farmer. Then the question is, how could I do it on his behalf? I'm doing him a favor. I'm doing him a service. And the Ran says, what service? I'm using his material. The answer is, because whenever somebody performs a shlichus, he's doing the mishaleach, a hana, following instructions, fulfilling your wishes. That's called hana. How can I do that? The ka'avet shlichusay, right? Elo, so apparently we're speaking mishaloi, that I'm using my own material, al shal balakri, on behalf of the farmer. So I'm not actually giving you anything. You're not getting anything from me. Uladate the man, and whose das do we have? Ilem ladate the balakri, the farmer's das. So kamanele. Once again, the problem is I'm doing him hana. Although the material is mine, but the shlichus is on his behalf. Elav ladate the nafshe. Oh, apparently when we say ladate, it means I'm okay with what I'm doing. I only need my das. It has to be okay with me. I don't need your permission. Right? And I'm using my material for your field. It's a little bit repetitious, the Ran says. So again, if I need your permission, I'm doing you a favor. I can't do it for you. Oh. So that brings us to the conclusion. Apparently I don't need your consent, because I'm using my material. I don't need your permission. And we say, Zachan la'adam shalai b'fanav, you're happy that I'm doing it for you, and it's good. Answers the Gemara, no. Lo'ila mishal balakri, ala shal balakri. No, perhaps the Mishnah, which speaks about imudar hana, doing the truma, is speaking that I'm using your material. using the farmer's actual material for his truma. And the question is, whose permission do we have here? Do we have the farmer's permission? Obviously, otherwise how can I use his material? If that's the case, then how can I do the job for him? He can't have enough from me. He can't see me doing his job. The answer is, we can find an in-between type of status, a semi-consent, which is sufficient to allow me to take his material, but at the same time, does not constitute shtichus. He didn't really appoint me. As Rava told us in the next piece of the Gemara, we'll see soon, Boimer was speaking that he got up and he said, the farmer announced to everybody, not to me specifically, to everybody. He made a general public announcement. If anybody wants to do my truma, gesundheit. Anybody can come do my truma, take my material, do my job for me. I'm busy today. Here as well. Now our Mishnah was speaking about that type of a case. So I took the cue, and I jumped into his field, and I took off his truma using his material. So it wasn't my material. I didn't actually give him anything. I used his material. The question was, if he asked me to do it, that in itself is considered benefiting him. I'm giving him hana by following his instructions. No, he didn't ask me to do it. He allowed everybody to do it. And I chose to jump in and volunteer to do the job. And that's why it's allowed. So regarding our original question, the question was, if I take my material and do it as truma on your material, do I need your permission or not? We don't really have clarity on that because the Mishnah is not speaking about that case. Rather, the Mishnah is speaking, I'm using your material. Once you allowed anybody to do it, so in that case, certainly it's okay. And there's no issue of mudar hana. Here comes another question. Bo'imine, Rabbi Yirmiyah, Rabbi Zera. He asked Rabbi Zera as follows: Hatoyre mishaloi al shachaveri. Reuben takes his material and uses it for truma on Shimon's material. Okay, suppose he got his permission. We're not going to get into that issue. It's a case where it's certainly okay. Okay, that's not the issue right now, whether he's allowed to do it. For some reason, he did it and he's allowed to do it. We have another question on hand. Toivas ha'no'o shomi. The Ran explains, although a kohen is not meant to pay off the farmer, he's not meant to give him any incentive to direct the truma and the maser in his direction. It's not respectful. It's not respectable. It's not the way Hashem wants it to be done. Hashem wants the farmer to direct his matnos kuhuna in a covered and honorable fashion. He doesn't want the kohen and the Levi to offer kickbacks to the farmer. But suppose it's a grandfather who's a Yisrael, who happens to have a grandson who's a kohen. His daughter is a son. He might offer a little bonus to the farmer. Look, he'll give the farmer his grandson's address. That's called toivas ha'no, a little side benefit. So here we have a farmer who has a huge supply of tevel, and we have the truma taken on behalf of that tevel. The thing is, the truma wasn't the farmer's material; it was his friend who took his own material and applied it to the farmer's tevel. So now, when it comes to the kickback to the teves hano that the grandfather will offer, who's going to get that? Teves hano shall me. What's the question? Mi amrinan, shall we say? Who's the main player? Ilav peri dehayich, if not for the farmer's produce, the subject matter of the truma. Mi metakna karya. Sorry. Ilav peri dehayich, if not for the peris of the nice fellow Reuven who did the truma on behalf of the farmer, if not for the peris which turned into truma, mi metakna kari dahu. If not for that, how would we fix up the supply of the farmer? So the punchline is the truma was generated by Reuven, the non-farmer, the friend's produce. So he's the primary player. He gets the teves hano. He made the truma. Or perhaps ilav kari dahu, if not for the farmer and his produce, the tevel which needed the truma, Lo Yahavin Perid Adein Truma. The other fellow's fruit would not turn into Truma. So he's the main player. Who gets the Teves Hano? Amalei Reb Zera says, certainly it's the farmer. It's a Chiddush, the farmer. Amakra, es kol tvos aracha v'nosata. So the Torah considers the Baal Hazera, the farmer, as the Noisin. He's the primary player. He's the catalyst for the Truma, and for the giving of the Truma, he gets the benefits associated with Nesinas Truma. He gets the Teves Hano. Eisvei. So Rabbi Yirmiyah asked him a question from our Mishnah. So Shimon, a farmer, may not have a noah from Reuven. He's a mudar hanoah from Reuven. Reuven can go ahead and do the Truma and Maser on behalf of Shimon, the farmer. Now, if you're going to tell me that any benefits, any side benefits, go to the farmer, so in this case we have a problem, because Reuven, the farmer's friend, is using his own material. That's what we're assuming. We're assuming that Reuven is using his own material to do the Truma on behalf of Shimon, the farmer. And if Shimon, the farmer, gets the Teves Hano, he's benefiting from Reuven. Elosh Mamino, apparently we have a raya, Teves Hano delay. That's just the opposite. Teves Hano goes to Reuven, the one who did the Truma, and not to Shimon, the farmer. There's no issue of Mudar Hano. Amri, so the Gemara answers no. Loi, because we're speaking Mishal Baal Akri, Al Shal Baal Akri. The way we learned before, that the halacha, the Mishnah, is discussing using whose material for Truma. The farmer's material is being used as Truma on his farm material. So it's not Reuven's material, it's Shimon, the farmer's material, being used for Truma. Uludati the Baal Akri, with the owner, with the farmer's consent, not explicit, instruction to Reuven that wouldn't be allowed. But Ba'imer Kol HaRoitze Litram Yav Yitram, as we explained before, he made this general announcement: anybody's free to do the Truma. Come separate my Truma using my material. And Reuven jumped in and did it. That's okay. It's not considered as though he personally benefited Shimon. And now, it's certainly not a problem that we say Shimon, the farmer, gets Teves Hano, because after all, why shouldn't he? It's his farm, it's his material. So there's no kash. So back to our question. If a person uses his material as Truma for the other fellow's tevel, who gets Teves Hano? Tashma, Dama Ravo, Am Rav Yochanan. It's the Toirem. Reuven is the one who gets Teves Hano. Hamagdish Moisef Chemish. So he taught us 3 halachos which are slightly related regarding karbonis and pidyon. Hamagdish Moisef Chemish. So Reuven was mafresh a korban, an animal for his friend's Shimon's obligation, with his knowledge. Halacha is, if something is to happen to that behemoth, gets a blemish, it needs to be redeemed. How much do you pay? Typically, you pay actual value, except for the owner. The owner pays an extra fifth. That's the halacha, extra chemish. Who's the owner? The fellow who actually uses his animal and designated as a korban, or the recipient, the one who needs the hakrava. Hamagdish Meisef Chemish. The one who made it Hegdish. Reuven, the one who made it Hegdish on behalf of Shimon, he's called a Magdish, he's called a Baalim. And when he's paid, he has to give the extra Chemish, because he made the Hegdish. That's halacha number 1. Halacha number 2. But regarding Temura, Shimon, the recipient, the one who's benefiting from that korban, the one for whom Reuven designated that korban, the Meschaper, the one who's getting kapara, he's the one who has the ability to make a Temura. He can go ahead and exchange, this korban for that, transfer the kedusha from the animal to a different animal. Because when it comes to Temura, it's all about who's going to have the hakrava. And since it was meant for Shimon's hakrava, for Shimon's benefit, he's considered the owner concerning Temura. And the Ran brings, this is all learned in Psukim, in Meseches Temura. And one more thing which pertains to us, regarding Teruma. Reuven decides to use his own material as truma for Shimon's tevel, who gets the Toivas Hanoah? Toivas Hanoah Shaloi. It's Reuven's Toivas Hanoah, and the Ram brings, because it says Aser to Aser, Eskel Tvaz Arachav and Osata, the Nesina, the ability to give and the ability to receive any benefits associated with the Nesina belongs to the Aser to Aser, the one who actually makes the Maser, makes the Truma, which in this case is Reuven. So he disagrees with Reb Zera. He holds that Toivas Hanoah goes to Reuven. Okay, let's do a quick chazar of today's daf. We had a shaila regarding the status of Kehanim. Shluchei Didan, they're working for us, or Shluchei Rachmana, working for Hashem. We thought we had a few rayas. We did not really conclude. But we did learn that there are various types of karbanis pertaining to somebody doing it on your behalf. Mechusa kapar, you don't need the das of the recipient. You can just bring it on his behalf. As opposed to standard obligatory karbanis, chatas v'asham, you need his permission. Same thing with carbon pesach, but we said youngsters can be included in their parents' carbon even without really getting a formal reservation into that carbon. Question. A fellow takes his own material and uses it as truma for his friend. Does he need his das or not? We didn't really have a conclusion on that. Regarding Al Mishnah, we said, well, even though Shimon, the farmer, can't benefit from Reuven, but Reuven can still do the truma on his behalf, because we're speaking that he's using the farmer's material, and the farmer had just enabled anybody to do it on his behalf, so it's not considered Reuven doing a shlichus for Shimon. Next question was, when Reuven actually takes Reuven's material and does it for truma for Shimon with Shimon's permission, classic case, not a mudar hana, a conventional, Reuven doing for Shimon type of truma, who gets the toivas hana? According to Rabbi Zera, the farmer, and according to Rabbi Yechanan, Torah mishaloi shalei shaloi, toivas hana shaloi belongs to Reuven, the fellow who actually used his material to make the truma. May Hashem give us much, much asiyata d'shmaya and atzlacha rabba.